Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Pondering the Process, where we embark on a journey of discovery with some of the most creative minds in the community and explore the making of their latest projects. Today we're speaking with comic book enthusiast and Stan Lee fan, Eman, on his latest piece titled Stan Lee. Nice to meet you, Eman. How's your day going?
Yeah, you too. Good. It's going good.
Before we really go into everything, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to talk with us, and thank you for taking part of your day to come on this. Really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, for sure, no doubt. I saw the opportunity. I'm like, yeah, you know what? This looks like a cool idea. So I'm like, yo, you know what? Why not?
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's move straight into the questions then. So we're talking about your piece called Stan Lee. What inspired you to want to immortalize Stan Lee in this?
Okay, that's a good question. So with that piece now, it was not only a tribute to him, but it was also a gift for him because he turned 100 last year. If he was still alive, he would have been 100. And I did do a portrait of Stan Lee 10 years ago, well, 11. But I did a portrait of Stan Lee in 2012. And then I'm like, yo, you know what? He's about to turn 100, so this is going to be a tribute and a birthday gift to him. So I had to put it on hold because I was ready to go back home to Ghana for the holidays. So when I came back, that was my main focus, and I finished it end of January.
I see. Great. RIP to a legend, obviously. Man did a lot. It will be missed for sure. So one thing that caught my eye, right, the first time I looked at this work was the comic panels in the background. You know, there's a lot of cover art in the background. Was there any process for selecting those, or was that just random?
Honestly, there was a process behind that. So that was my initial plan for the portrait. So what it was is that I wanted the background to be the classic comic book covers from the 90s and the early 2000s. The thing is, I didn't know how to put paper like that on canvas. So what I did was I asked the art community on TikTok for help. So like everybody came through, they told me what to get, they told me how to apply it, this and that. So what I did was I bought a small canvas, I did a test run on it to see how it would come out. And then when it came out exactly how I wanted to, that's when I did the final thing on the actual Stan Lee portrait. So at first I was a little nervous, but then when I actually applied it, it actually stuck to the canvas. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So then from there, I just applied everything else to make the background like that. So I just looked up classic Marvel characters, well, the comic book covers really. So that's exactly how it came together.
I see. And how long did that take you?
The background, maybe like half an hour to an hour. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Oh, I see. So it wasn't that long.
Yeah.
It was the process of getting it started that took a while. But the actual process was, I see. That's interesting. So then, how did you decide which cover art went where?
So with the cover art, yeah, that was definitely random. Like picking the actual comic book covers, like I knew which covers I wanted. As far as the placement goes, yeah, that was random. I'm like, okay, this one could go here, this one could go there. If you look closely at it, it's the same ones over and over again. So what it is that I had at least 6 of them printed out, and then wherever the empty space was at, I just put it all around him. So to get the shape around Stan, I used this tracing paper that I had, and then I just drew the empty space, and then I cut the space around it with the colors that I printed out so it could fit. So it felt like I was putting a puzzle together, honestly. So that's exactly how I did that.
Okay, and then for putting Stan Lee on there, can you walk us through how you were able to superimpose him on the background?
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to doing portraits, I'll do the background first, and then I'll paint the portrait of the actual person because it just works better for me. So I'll do the background first. So first, I made the background red because that's the color of Marvel, the comic company. And then I decided to change the color to the sky blue because the sky blue looked better. And then that's when I used the grid method, because in high school I learned how to do portraits using the grid method to get all the proportions and everything. So I used the grid method. After I did the background, I drew Stan. Then I started painting Stan. After I was done with painting Stan, that's when I printed out the comic book covers. I pasted it around him, and then that's how I completed it. That's how I did it.
That's pretty impressive. How long did the entire process take?
Okay, from start to finish, so minus me going back home to Ghana and putting it on hold, I feel like it took about 3 weeks. Yeah, it took about 3 weeks. So like when I first started it, I started it the last week of November, going into like the first week of December. Yeah, so about 3 weeks to do everything.
Okay, and since this is your second Stanley portrait, I'm pretty sure he's had an impact on you. Does he usually influence your work?
Yeah, he does tons of billion. When I first found out about him, I was 12 years old. I found out he was the mastermind behind Marvel and most of the iconic and popular characters. So from that point on, I got more deeply invested into who he is as a person, what he's done, how he got started. I have comic books that I bought. I have magazines. I watched all the documentaries with him, all the cameos. Like every time I see the cameos, I get excited. Even now, I still get excited, you feel me? So it's like, yeah, Stanley is definitely one of my biggest influences in everything that I do. Not just art, but just everything.
Yeah, every time his cameo comes up in movies, the entire theater is always like, ooh, that's Stanley.
Yeah.
He's had a huge impact for sure. Okay, so since you mentioned that you used to have a lot of comics, and you also mentioned talking with the TikTok community to get the idea for the panels, right? Is there any of those panels there that have a special meaning to you?
Special meaning? Wow, that's a good question. I feel it definitely does have a special meaning for the simple fact that this is how comic books used to look back then. Now that I'm looking at it again, some of them look like they were from when Marvel first started, like the 60s, 70s. So I feel it's definitely special to me to see how the characters used to look back then compared to now. They look more enhanced now. They still have the same costume colors, but more upgraded now. It's definitely special to me.
I see. And do you prefer the old style versus the new style?
Wow, that's a good question. Old style versus new style. Reading both the old style and the new style, I would say the new style because when I first started reading comics, I first seen the new style, and it wasn't until until I was a teenager that I saw the old style. There's nothing against the old style, but I just think the new style definitely looks better because there's newer artists and they definitely upgraded characters, maybe even storylines changed, so everything definitely evolved and everything definitely changed over time. So I'm definitely rocking with the new style. The old style is cool, but the new style, probably.
I agree with you on that. So I'm more of a fan of the new style, but I do have some friends who are way into the old style. They say the art is better now, but the storytelling was better then. I mean, I don't really have time to go check through all of that to confirm, right? But from what I've seen, the new style looks cooler for sure. And the stories, even if they're fundamentally different, it's still around the same theme. They're not going to change the character drastically enough where I need to go read the old material. So, yeah, I also prefer the new style.
Okay, nice.
All right, so just looking at this, right, what do you want us, the viewers, to take from this piece, right? If you were to go to a gallery and you hung this on the wall and somebody came up to talk to you about it, what would be the thing that they would say about the piece that would make you light up?
Wow, that's a great question. The thing that people would say if they were to see it in the gallery, in the museum, that would really boost my spirit is honestly anything that they feel makes it stand out, whether it's the details in the hair, the face, the expression, the cover, or just everything overall. That will definitely boost my spirit because after I finished it and when I posted it, a lot of people really loved the details in the face, the hair, the background. Even when I did the comparison with the first one that I did, this one, everybody was really feeling this one more. And then even one of my supporters was saying like, wow, the realism. I wasn't even aiming for realism with this piece, but looking at it now and then looking at the one that I first did, I could see a major upgrade. I could see a major difference. I definitely see an evolution between the two. So that will definitely boost my spirit if people would say that when they see it.
I see. Now I'm more excited to see the old one too, just to make a comparison. It's always nice to see when people grow and how they evolve.
For sure.
And then you said you were not trying to go for realism here, but it's textured in that kind of realistic style.
Yeah.
right? So what techniques did you use for features like the hair, right, and the shadowing on his face?
Okay, so techniques now. I'm not sure what the name of the technique is, but for the hair now, I use the skinnier brush. I use the slimmer brush to make his hair look like that. I use white paint and gray, obviously. So I started with the gray, then I went in with a different brush and I used the white. So I just drew lines repeatedly, going from left to right. And then with the shadow on his face now, I used a medium-sized brush. I used raw sienna. I used burnt sienna as well, and then I made it blend to like really have that shadow cast on it based off the reference picture that I had. And here's a fun fact. So there was this magazine that I celebrated Stanley's 100th birthday. So the cover now, it had Stanley just like how you see with the portrait that I have, and then behind him, the classic comic book covers. I'm like, oh wow, this is what I'm going for the portrait. So getting that magazine was definitely the inspiration behind that too.
Let's see. Well, I'm happy you found that book then, because it came out great. Lovely.
Thank you.
Right. So, did you face any difficulties at any point making the piece, or was everything just going as you planned?
I definitely did face some difficulties. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's something that I am struggling with it, but I will get better. So the thing is, his sweater, there was like a couple creases. Do you know how like clothes has like folds in it? Yeah, so that's something I'm struggling with right now. So I'm like, yo, you know what? I'm just gonna make his sweater solid, because like I tried painting the folds, but I wasn't really feeling the way it looked. So I'm like, I'm just gonna leave it like solid like that. The green really looks nice overall, so I'm like, I'm just leaving it how it is. I feel like I achieved the folds though in the shirt though, in the white collar shirt. That was definitely a challenge. So I had to redo that maybe 5 or 6 times.
Oh, wow.
I feel like I finessed the folds in the shirt though, but the only challenge with this one was his sweater. So that's the only thing I'm struggling right now, painting folds and fabric. But I'm gonna get to it though. I'm gonna get there. I got no doubt about that. I'm gonna get it.
Oh, for sure. And if you want, we could probably help you get in contact with some artists who are almost perfect at making creases. I don't know if you saw episode 1 of this podcast, but there's a work of a lady wearing the 4 blankets, and he drew each individual strand of the 4 and all the creases. It was insane. So if you want people that could give you advice, we can help you find them for sure.
Oh yeah, I actually did see that episode. I was really blown away. I'm like, wow, the hyper realism,
right?
It's crazy. Like, that's one of my favorite art styles. Going off topic a little bit, like hyper realism is one of my favorite art styles. That's a style that I plan on mastering. I'm still learning as I go. So yeah, mastering hyper realism with acrylic and with graphite. So I saw that, I'm like, wow, mind blowing. I'm like, wow. Yeah, the details insane. I'm just like, yeah, he did that.
Yeah, he did that. Right? But then again, everyone has different styles, right? So even if I'm blown away by that, right, and then I see yours and it's like, this is your style, this also blew me away. So that's one thing people always need to understand. I feel like that's one issue with the art community, is that everyone gets so hyper fixated on hyper realism sometimes that they don't appreciate that everyone has other styles. Because it's not realistic, people are like, oh, you didn't spend enough effort or time on. No, you know, like, this is just my style.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Take, for example, if you see Basquiat's work, you'll know it's his. If you see Keith Haring, you'll know if it's his. If you see Banksy or even Mr. Brainwash, you'll know it's theirs. So like, yeah, it's definitely different styles or even different ways of doing things. Like, even looking at my work now, I don't even know what my signature mark is, but if you see my signature on the lower right or the lower left corner on the canvas, you'll know it's mine. I guess that's the only distinguishing thing. But other than that, yeah, I don't know what my signature style is when people see it. So yeah.
It's also true that not everyone has a style.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need to have a style, but I do think it's kind of unfair when people try to say, oh, your style isn't this one that's pleasing to me, so I don't like it. It's like, no, just, check it out. Okay, so next question I'd like to ask, right? So this is obviously a mixed media piece.
Yeah, that's mixed media. That's mixed media. Yeah, it is. Right? It is.
So what advice would you give aspiring creatives if they're trying to create similar pieces of art like this?
Okay, that's a good question. So, what I would tell the aspiring, emerging innovators, artists, and creators, YouTube is your best friend. Learn from other artists any chance you get. Practice any chance you get. There's no right or wrong answer. Don't have any self-doubts. Take a step back if you have to. Ask for advice if you need it. Ask for help if you need it, for sure. But definitely, if you feel some type of way about it, or if it's not coming out how you want it to, just take a step back from it. Don't be afraid to start over if you have to. Like, sometimes it will happen, but that's my advice for the upcoming innovators and creatives that's about to shake the globe with whatever they put out.
Nice. I like the fact that you've mentioned it's okay to take a step back, right? It's okay to start again, because people are so afraid of failure.
Yeah.
They might look at something, they don't really like what's going on, but they're not willing to restart. They're not willing to take a step back because they're going to be like, oh, I didn't meet the deadline, or oh, I'm going to fail, things like that. So I really like that advice. I really like the fact that you told them to actually consider taking a step back when needed, right? Like, nothing's perfect and they're going to grow. I also like the fact that you told them to always practice, look around, grow. You know, YouTube is your friend for sure.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay, that's all the questions I have regarding the piece. So the next thing I would like to talk about, the final thing, is our app. It's called Udocreatives. Think about the fact that you just mentioned how aspiring artists need to ask questions, they need to always look around, practice. So that's what the app is supposed to do. What we're trying to do is that we're trying to make a community where any new emerging creative does not have to go through that journey alone. Like, you open the app and bam, there's already a bunch of posts, there's a bunch of discussions already happening. People are sharing glimpses into their work. It's pretty informative. So we're trying to create a safe space for creatives, right? So let's look at other social media, for example. What's going on is that everyone's competing to be seen, right? You're competing with influencers, you're competing with barbers, competing with comedians, you know, all of that. But what we're trying to do here is that this is a place just for creatives. You come in there, you post your finished work, you ask questions if needed. Everyone can discuss your work. So basically, the entire creative community can discuss your work. So you can post the work and be like, hey, what can I do better here? And people can go in there and just respond to you directly or in the forum, right? And just tell you, okay, this is what you could do. You can also just decide to ask questions to the community. So the same way you mentioned that you went to the TikTok art community and asked, you know, how can I make this background? You could easily just go to our discussion section and ask the same question, and then there's literally going to be hundreds to thousands of people, you know, eventually millions. You know, that's what we're aiming for. They're going to respond to you to say, hey, this is how you could try it out. This is how you could do this. So yeah, we're creating a safe space for creatives, a great community, a hub per se, so that everyone has access to information at their fingertips. You're not competing with anyone. It's not about who has the most likes or who has the most subscribers, right? Like, we're not trying to create a competitive environment for creatives. We're trying to create a place where every creative is living in harmony, right? Online.
Okay.
That makes sense. So I don't know if you've visited the app or seen the website. Have you?
Yeah, I have. I actually downloaded it. I definitely love the layout. I love the interface of the app. It low-key reminds me of like how Instagram used to look back in 2012 when I first got on it. And I love how it's an app that's based around creatives. And I seen that people had their work up there. Some people asking for advice. I seen a writer asking for advice on motivation and all that stuff. So like, I definitely love that. And then you did bring up a good point about how everybody's competing, like especially with these apps. You know, a lot of these apps are trying to be like TikTok, you know, Instagram with the reels, Facebook even got reels now, and then the stories now, all of that. So I definitely love the layout. I'm gonna promote it actually. I'm gonna put it on my story. I'm gonna put it on my TikTok.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like it's for everybody, not just creators, but aspiring creators as well. So everybody should check out Udocreatives. You know,
Thank you.
Everybody can get connected. Everybody can shine together. Everybody can thrive together. So yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. I don't know what to say. Thank you.
Yeah, well, yeah, no problem.
So one other thing that we did on the app is we made a lot of the app publicly accessible for you to obviously like or bookmark or ask questions, you need to sign up, right? But even if you don't want to sign up, if you just download the app immediately, you have access to all the information that's already there. The difference is, since you haven't signed up, you can't add new information, but you have access to all that. So we have this thing called the Spotlight page, which is the first thing you see when you download the app, right? And this is something we're really proud of. Not like a lot of other social media where based on your likes and everything, it starts giving you suggested posts, right? And then if you want to change how your For You page looks, in quotes, you have to go and start liking different things. No, we made it totally randomized because the whole point is that everyone on this app is supposed to be interested in creativity. We're looking for inspiration, right? The creative community is always looking for inspiration. So what happens is that the Spotlight page is random. It's just a random algorithm. So no matter how many subscribers you have, no matter how many people you follow, no matter what you like, it gives you a random bunch of posts. So you could find inspiration from the most unlikeliest type of work, right? Because it showed up on the Spotlight page. And every time you refresh the Spotlight page, it gives you a different set of people. So it's just constantly calling different art. It's like, oh, I want to paint something today. Let me go on the Spotlight page and see what's there. Ooh, maybe I'll make my own version of this, right? Or you could go straight to the artist and message them directly for collaboration. You know, things like that. That's what we're trying to create. We're really trying to go community style here. Make everything easy to use.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel that. And then what you brought about the For You page and algorithm, yeah, I actually want to go off on that. So now, with the algorithm now, maybe you know this already, but there was an article that was recently put out in January about how on TikTok they get to pick and choose which videos go viral. It's this technique called heating. I guess the heating is when the video is hot, they push it. So like the thing is, a lot of mediocrity and the bare minimum gets pushed, it gets praised. And I'm not gonna lie, I do feel a way about that because there's like millions of talented people that's out here, you know, busting their ass just to be seen, just to be heard.
Exactly.
Flop. Meanwhile, there's somebody walking across the screen, drinking the water. Next thing you know, they get a 6-figure deal for doing the bare minimum. You know, it's just crazy. I don't care about getting a brand. The goal is to be seen. The goal is to be heard. The goal is to reach my target audience.
Exactly.
It's just hard that they pick and choose what videos do well. I feel like Instagram does the same thing. They pick and choose what goes viral. And I've been paying close attention to what does well, what doesn't do well. I don't post with the intention of going viral all the time. I feel like going viral all the time is overwhelming because you got all these notifications to keep up with. You might miss out on something. Like 2 weeks ago, this brand reached out to me on TikTok and the invitation expired. I didn't even know the brand reached out to me because I had a lot of notifications along. I have a bigger platform on TikTok than every other platform, 27Ks.
Oh, nice.
So I didn't even see that notification that they reached out to me. So what I did was I put my email in my bio so that way they can reach out to me through email because I'm more likely to see the brand invite in my email versus on the app.
Exactly, I understand that. And like you said, people just want to be seen, just want to be heard. That was one of the inspirations of us creating this. We're like, you know what, we're a small team and we all have the ability to create something for people to be heard and seen. So why don't we just make an app that's supposed to be a safe haven? And it's been a great journey. We just recently added an events feature so people can add events. We haven't really marketed that too much, but if you play around the app you probably see it, but we haven't really marketed it. We want to give everyone a great app. We don't want people to come in and everything's buggy or things like that. We want to make sure people are having a great time on the app. So I'm really happy to hear that you like the app.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I see these social media influencers and content creators, they dominate. You know, there's no shade to them, but make some room for the innovators, make some room for the creators, make some room for everybody. How about that?
Exactly.
Shine the light on them. Shine the light on the ones that don't have over 100K.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do here. We even have a feature called Glances, which is like a story. Because what happens on Instagram is sometimes you flood your timeline with your progress videos, your final work, and people find it difficult to find what your final work is. So in our app, the final work should go in your post section, and then your process, you know, videos of your work should go in the Glances section. So that lasts for 7 days. So you don't have to become this influencer that has to post every day to be on the Glances page, right? It's going to be there for 7 days. So even if you don't make any progress in 7 days, people are going to be like, okay, for the past 7 days, he's been working on this. And at any point in time, you can be like, oh, I've made an update. You post it there, it stays for another 7 days. We want people to focus on creating and let us handle them being seen. That's also why we're doing this YouTube showcase, just to show that we're committed to doing that.
Yeah, I definitely see. I definitely feel that.
Honestly, I've had so much fun talking with you. I just wanted to thank you so much for your time. Like, it's been a great chat.
Yeah, same here.
That's enough. Like, you've opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I'm so happy that you were able to share this piece with us. So, just shameless plug. If you can give us 5 stars on the App Store or the Play Store, that would be great.
No, I'm gonna give y'all 10 stars. How about that?
Thanks, man. But for real though, have a great day, and thank you so much for being here.
You too.
All right, then. Take care. Bye.
You too.